Okay, I'm Mrs. Murdock, and this is a tutorial on using an Excel spreadsheet to create a graph. So right now you guys are working on the enzyme graphs. There's two graphs to make, one for experiment A and one for experiment B, and you're going to be doing those graphs on your own using the class data that I uploaded for you on Schoology. And then you have to upload your choice of graph, depending on which teammate you like best, into the formatives, one for A and one for B. So this is last year's data, and I'm just using it as a way to show you how you're going to just calculate some simple averages and then put them into a graph. So let me just get rid of the old data here. All right. Okay. So remember experiment A, I'm on experiment A data right now, but to go to experiment B, you push the B tab and there it is. So don't be confused if you can't find the other one, go to the bottom and look for the tab. So the first thing you need to do is you're going to calculate an average. You go to the cell that's beneath your first column of data, you type an equal sign. And then you start typing the word average because it's built into the system to calculate it for you. AV should be enough. You go and you click on average, and then you want to highlight the numbers that you want to take the average of. So I'm going to highlight until it gets to the top. Don't highlight the 3%. That's your table value. So then you have the right numbers that you want to take the average of, and you press enter and it will calculate it for you. See, there it is. Now, usually when it does that the first time, because I've already been in this spreadsheet before, it's already truncating it to the thousandths. If you want to change how many decimals you have, how many numbers you have after the decimal, there's a cool little thing up here that does that. You see if you go to the arrow signs next to that go back and forth, you can give it more decimals or you can give it less decimals. Again, the significant figures really shouldn't be different from the ones that are in the rest of the column, so that's just fine. The other nice trick to know for this is that once you've calculated one average, I'm just going to type the word average here, you should as well. You have one average, you want it to do the same calculations across the board. You click and drag this. So if I hover my arrow over that lower left corner, you see how it turns into a big plus sign. I've noticed on your computers the plus sign is very small and hard to see. But if it's not a hand anymore, see how it's a hand there? And then it turns into a plus sign, then you've got it. Then you click and drag it to the right, and it does the calculations for you. Boom. That's a very nice feature. Okay, then what you do is you're going to take these. Now I know that this is my 3% column, so I'm going to type 0.084, 0.084 over here, and I'm just going to go down. Again, watch your decimals. I'm seeing people like typing 8.4 and getting crazy things happen to them. So be sure that you're really typing the right things. 0.063 is the next one, and then 0.039 is that one, and then 0.026, and then you're going to assume 0. Type the word 0 for 0% hydrogen peroxide. That's going to anchor your graph, and that's a correct value. Okay? All right, so now we have the data, and this is not your data, this is last year's data, so don't worry if you don't recognize it, but you're doing the same thing with yours. To make the graph, you're going to highlight the columns, including the top, because that labels the axes for you. So highlight the columns like that. Go over to Insert and go down to Chart. And you want a line graph, and mine is already doing that. Now, if it's not a line graph, if it's some other type of graph, you've got the chart editor over here, and you can click on this and change it to the one you want, right? You don't want a bar graph, you don't want a scatter plot, you want the line graph. That's the relationship you want, okay? Then if you need to customize the title, which you definitely should, you go to Chart and Axis Titles. You can do the title. You can fix that to make sure it says all of the things you know you need to say here. There's no error bars on this one, folks. You don't need to worry about that. But you do need to worry about other information to put in a title. Then make sure that your horizontal and vertical axes are correct. Make sure that it includes the units. This one doesn't. You would have to add that, okay? and then you're done with your graph. Then this would be, once you're finished with it and it looks the way you want it, you can upload this into the enzyme formative that you're going to be working on next, okay? All right, I hope that covers any eventualities. Remember that once you've done the substrate concentration one, you need to go down here and make sure you do the same for experiment B data, which varied the amount of yeast. And remember, this is a common point of confusion. When you're varying the amount of yeast, what you're really varying is the amount of enzyme. So make sure you don't get those confused. The more yeast there is, the more enzyme there is, because the yeast is providing the enzyme. Okay? All right, so there's no error bars in this one, and that covers how to use the spreadsheet to make the graph. And I leave the rest up to you, and I hope that was helpful.